And here we go. Hey, welcome to Play It Painted Live. What's up, one viewer? So tonight we're here with Phil Howard. What's up, Phil?
How you doing?
All right. What are you painting, Phil?
I'm working on some Yums Vikings for Saga,
Okay.
and just a bit of a commission piece. Got all these little guys blocking out the main colors tonight, and then I got a couple of Relic Knight figures too.
Nice. Okay. I'm also working on Relic Knights. I have a whole. This is basically the entire Shattered Sword faction, but I'm going to narrow it down to a few models tonight and attack the other stuff later. So I'm probably just going to try to narrow it down to the starter box, and I think I'll do well, sure, maybe I'll do Navarre also. So that's what I am working on. I'm going to put these purifiers up too. Maybe I should work on the purifiers. They seem, nah, let's not. Try to reduce the total amount of miniatures.
So little time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so little disorganized going into tonight because we don't normally broadcast on Wednesday nights. That has to do with the recent change in my schedule, which we'll get into in a minute. So first, a couple of announcements, if you will. One is, looks like we're closing in on the 2-day mark for Ogre. This OC Con is still trying to fund. I believe they're about maybe 6,000 off the target, or 5,000 or 6,000 off the target. So, it's going to be kind of ambitious at this point, no lie. But we'll see if there's a lot of activity swirling around Ogre right now, and seeing if it can actually fund. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that out to the viewers of this show. And then a couple other announcements. As you may know, we're moving the night here. Some people are thinking it's that I'm switching to Thursday nights, and I thought we were switching to tonight. It's actually, my wife wasn't sure if we were on tonight or tomorrow night either. So I want to get some feedback from the viewers, what works better, tonight or tomorrow night. And then actually, if we, depending on viewership tonight too, that's also an indication. Then finally, what else do we have going on this month? That's kind of the subject of tonight's show, and it's part of the reason why Phil is here, and that is Sagaugust. So, Phil, do you want to tell us about Sagaugust? Where is it? When is it? And what are we looking at?
I noticed that there was, at least from my perspective, a distinct lack of Saga activities that spanned a whole day and just captured the epicness of Dark Ages combat. So I decided to have an event. I came up with an idea to have Sagaugust down in San Diego because there's a strong community down there, and the store is At Ease Games. It's on Miramar Road down in San Diego, and just off the 15. It's on August 23rd, and I picked At Ease because one, it's a huge venue. Two, they carry Saga and Gripping Beast models for purchase, which is nice because not a lot of places do. And three, the entry fee for participation, everything that comes in from the players goes back to the players. The store gets a benefit from having so many people there, and I get a benefit knowing that people are having a good time and playing Saga. So that's pretty much it. Everything, it's designed to be, it's a play-a-painted event designed to get people playing and having fun and excited about Saga, and really that's about it. There's no anything else about it. We do have some pretty nifty prize support, and Gripping Beast was good enough to send a few things. I got the confirmation today, so it should all be here in time. Got my fingers crossed for that.
Cool.
and as long as UPS pulls through. So, yeah, we got a couple of surprises lined up. We put one teaser on the Play Painted Facebook site today for something that we're going to be giving away, and we got a couple other things in the works. So more on that as we get closer.
Oh wow! I didn't even see that teaser. I should go look at that.
Yeah. Suffice to say, we've got to limit the event to 30 people, just because I think that's what the store can hold, what I can handle managing a tournament. There's a sign-up sheet. There should be a sign-up sheet at the front desk at East Games, and also you can RSVP to the event on Facebook. But even if you're not in that top 30, there's the odds that somebody might drop out due to last-minute commitments or something popping up at the last second, and we'll have time to fit last-minute switches and substitutions, as it were.
Sure. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So, so this is a 3-round all-day event, and this was it was 6 points, or how does it actually work with the army build?
Oh, okay. Well, we've decided to experiment with something a little bit. I wanted to create sort of a narrative feel to the event, and so I wanted to everybody shows up with a 6-point list on paper, and then that number dwindles through the event. So at the first round, you've got invaders on the doorstep, so you've got all the forces you can muster, and you have at it. The second rounds, the invaders have made it farther inland, so you're fighting with a diminished resources, so you've only got 5 points. And the third round is the last-ditch effort to stop the invaders from accomplishing, the destruction of your homeland. So you've only got 4 points, but you can recycle units as they get wiped out, and it should provide for a pretty epic finale. But it'll also provide a challenge as far as force management, and based on the nature of the different scenarios, which are borrowed from a variety of sources, including the UK Grand Melee from last year. It'll make you look at each scenario differently as far as force composition, and not every one static build will not get you victory in every scenario.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, this so the tournament packet has already been made available, right on the events page.
Yes, in the SoCal Tabletop Gaming Group, there's on the events page, there's the Sagaugust event, and the link to version 1.1, which is the latest update to the rules packet, is posted there. And also, Eddie's Games has a copy of that packet, and if you have other questions or can't find the link, or having trouble with it or anything like that, just shoot us a message and Play a Pin, and we'll make sure it gets to you.
Sweet. Okay. Cool. So let's actually, I want to back up a little bit, because we talked about the event itself, but let's talk about the game that this event revolves around. Let's talk about Saga for a minute. So, do you want to give us a brief description of Saga? And I know, probably the people that are watching this live probably know about Saga, or maybe not. I don't know. But if you want to give us a little, maybe a little 2-minute spiel on what Saga is and what got you into the game.
Sure. Saga is essentially Dark Ages combat. It covers the fall of Rome, just after the fall of Rome, and you have a variety of tribes, of nations, of forces, of factions vying for power, and it's from the fall of Rome, essentially, when they pulled out of Great Britain, all the way up till about 1066, just before the Norman conquest.
Okay.
Which means that you have Vikings, you have Saxons, you have Anglo-Danes, you have Scots, Welsh, Franks, just about every faction that you can imagine, even some fairly legendary ones that may or may not have actually existed, like the Yoms Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
They're all featured here, and essentially what it is skirmish. It's a 28 millimeter skirmish game set in that age of constant warfare, and you've got one warlord and a variety of troops that he can select. It's a fairly unique fashion. You've got a point system where 1 point will net you 4 elite warriors, the Hearthguard, or that 1 point can get you 8 regular warriors, which form the bulk of your forces, or that 1 point can get you 12 levies, which are the locals called up and kind of pressed into service. So the games typically are designed for 6 points, which means that you can have anywhere from 24 to, well, 25 with the warlord, to 72, I think it is. My math is fuzzy. But,
yeah, you could end up with, if you technically went all levies, you could end up with like a 73-man force there.
it'd be challenging, to be sure, but it's kind of a unique mechanic in that you have Saga dice, which they've got special symbols on it, but you can use regular dice. Basically, think of 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and then a 6, and those are your 3, stopping points. And you roll your dice, you place them on what's called a battle board that has a variety of orders and special abilities that each faction is capable of. For example, the Pagan Russ, which are the Viking traders that ended up staying in what is today Russia. They have abilities that can slow movement and blind shooters and all sorts of winter-type things, whereas the Saxons relied heavily on numbers, if you want to be completely accurate. And so most of their abilities have to do with giving bonuses to units that have more than 10 members in them.
Okay.
So it's a whole lot of variety in how the factions play, which appealed to me, in addition to the fact that it was completely historical gaming, and the models just had so much character. So they've got the metal models. They've also got plastic figures from Gripping Beast Plastics that 40 in a box, completely customizable however you like, and they're all plastic. So it's a fairly low buy-in. It's unique, and it plays pretty quickly, and it's fairly intuitive and easy to pick up.
Sure. It's also like you said, that it's a higher model count than what we consider to be most skirmish games, right?
Yeah, just a bit. You're not taking just 5 to 12 on a side, but the units move. You're not moving every single model in your army every turn.
Right.
So it's not as cumbersome as larger scale 28 millimeter games.
Okay. And it's also, like you were saying, it's also fairly cheap. You don't, even though it's a higher model count, you can actually build some pretty quick armies from the plastics. Gripping Beast you mentioned. You've got Perry. You've got War Games Factory. And those are all pretty cheap ways to build an army quickly.
Not just that, but you can also repurpose older figures. Like if you know anybody who has any of the old Bretonnian archers, they make great levy archers. So, yeah, most people have something lying around that they could use.
So from our club perspective, we've actually had Saga around for I want to say at least a year now, maybe even a little bit more. Back when we did our top 10 games of that was 2013, Saga was, I believe, made it into the top 3 for our group. So, I mean, there's a lot of support for this. Not a lot of support, but I mean a lot of, I guess, an existing fandom for Saga, and you recognized we'll call it a gap in what's available to the local players, and so now you're putting on this event for it. which is awesome. So, um,
And part of it, I think, has to do. I mean, I know there's a strong Saga community down in San Diego, and a lot of it has to do with the San Diego Historical Gaming Society, which they've been kind enough to put the word out about this event as well. But for our regular gaming crowd up in northern LA and Orange County, we don't have a whole lot of that structure. We don't have a historical gaming society up here that I'm aware of that interacts with our groups all that often. So most of these people are playing War Machine and other tabletop games, Malifaux and other things, which are great, but they're not quite in this genre. So this is kind of an attempt to reach that crowd as well, get them interested in something different.
mhm. So is this your very first publicly hosted um, store event, or have you done something like this in the past?
This is my first store event, which is why I'm thankful to have you around to ping on for questions. But I've done events at conventions and things like that. I've run a couple of tournaments here and there,
Yep.
and I've hosted home events with family, friends, and other members of the local community
Mm-hmm.
in my house. Just not anything quite on this scale.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that we're capping at 30 players, and that's based on a couple of things, right? That's based on capacity and also what we think. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm. Well, basically, it's based on one, what the venue can support, because they have a limited number of tables, and two, when you have more than 30 people, it's then you've got to get something. You got to get more people involved. You got to have people checking rules. You got to have all sorts of things. But with 30 people, 15 matches going on at a time, 3 rounds, that's manageable, and you can break out the pack, especially with the way that the victory points are organized in this. We've set it up so that a win is worth 5 tournament points, a draw is worth 3, and a loss is worth 1. But each game is going to be, you're going to be required to write down your victory points from that game, which will help break out, because there will be people with identical records, and we need to differentiate where they fall on the spectrum. So, having any more than 30 people would really start to get difficult. And like I said, I'm not so much on the math.
So 30 people, you think, how many rounds are we doing, and how long are each of the rounds?
We're doing 3 rounds, 90 minutes each, and it's going to encourage quick play and decisive action, but if you're a warlord leading your troops to fight off the invaders, you've got to be firm in your decisions, and they may make you, they may break you, but that's the way that the Dark Age cookie crumbles. But it should be noted that since it's a couple of weeks away, people have time, that in the event of ties, disputes, anything like that, as is a standing rule in Saga, the person with the most impressive facial hair often has the final say. So start growing those beards now, boys. And if we have female players, bring a fake beard, paste it on.
Bring a fake beard. There you go.
Costume shops, yes. That would be epic.
So, so besides, I'm assuming players have to bring their own armies, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned 6 points. What else should players be bringing to this tournament? And do we have requirements for anything like painting requirements, or are there modeling requirements? Anything like that to be aware of?
Yes. Rather than this is a play it painted event, and because I'm running it, and I will admit that I have prejudices. Everything has to be painted, and it doesn't have to be Golden Demon, crystal brush level of painting. Doesn't have to be airbrushed with off-source lighting or anything like that. But there has to be a reasonable effort made, at least 3 colors or so. It can't just be an all primer army. Paint the faces at least, please. But if somebody's there and they really want to play, I'm not going to be a complete ogre, but you're only eligible for prizes if you've got a fully painted army.
Oh wow, okay.
And there is a prize for the person voted best painted.
Okay.
So that's between the first and the second round. There's going to be an hour-long lunch, and I'm going to have everybody set up their forces on a tray that they can move to whatever table they're assigned to next, and people go around, take a look at the other forces available, and make their selection.
Okay.
So that is, and as far as basing goes, it doesn't have to be much. If you just throw some Elmers on and throw some flock on, great. If people go above and beyond with cork bases or with Cyborg Miniatures resin bases or anything like that, hey, more power to you. But everything has to be painted and based is the short answer.
Okay. Do you think that would? How do you think that's going to fly with the typical historical crowd here for Saga?
I think it's not going to be too much of an issue because the most of the historicals that I've run into have all painted things.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty common for historical, for Saga and some of the other historical games for them to require tournaments fully painted armies. So.
Yeah, I don't see that being an issue. It's kind of I don't know. It looks a lot nicer, and in my opinion, you have a much more enjoyable experience if your army and the army you're facing is fully painted.
Mm-hmm.
And the pictures look better, and you have more vivid memories of this unit that you spent hours painting or minutes if you went quick. Getting the final victory points you need to win, or getting demolished by annoying Franks on horses,
Yes.
or anything like that. So,
Well,
not citing any recent examples.
Yeah. It's not so much that for this crowd, for the Saga crowd, I think most of us are pretty used to playing fully painted. I mean, I can't even really think of the last time I saw, a couple of guys that are, maybe not people learning Saga. I'm talking about Saga players. I can't recall a time where I've seen Saga players not using painted miniatures. It just seems to be with this particular crowd, that just seems to be kind of par for the course.
Right, and that's why when I announced Sagaugust back it was a month or so ago,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure to put out there in the very first iteration of the rules, all painted, and a couple people said, "Oh, I got to get my stuff done." So, if nothing else, let's say you walk away, 3 losses, but you had fun. You played some folks that you hadn't met before, and there will be giveaways. There will be door prizes. So you're not going to walk away completely empty-handed, but at least you walk away with a painted force.
Yeah, that's true. I'm looking forward to being amongst the three lost crowd that day.
Yeah, I think I have yet to win a game myself, actually.
Yeah, I don't recall the last time I won a game. I usually either lose or tie.
Yeah. Well, you and I were testing out that scenario on Sunday, and round 2, and like I said earlier about counting victory points, it matters because we each scored 29 victory points.
Yeah.
But we only got 3 tournament points, so those victory points will come in very handy in determining how the final breakdown of winnings is determined. So
good point. Cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited about it. It's going to be fun because there's always the big games that are out, that are fresh, that are new.
Like the
This
one I'm painting.
Yeah, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute, but this is one of those games that I think has got a lot of great things about it, and the people that play it are they're a very interesting, fun, devoted bunch, and I'm looking forward to doing something with this community. And,
Cool.
yeah, we'll hope it goes well. Hope to see everybody there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be a very fun event, and very much looking forward to playing some Saga again. It's been a little too long since we've picked up the Saga dice.
Yes.
So, just reading a comment here off of YouTube. Tori Ling says, "Hi, what's up, Tori? Glad you could make it on the show. Let us know what you're painting or what you should be painting, and we will continue on here with Phil Howard and Sagaugust. So." Or anything else we need to know about the day. So obviously we're gonna bring our 6-point armies. They need to be painted. We're should we? I guess we should. I assume we would also need our own Saga dice, our own Saga boards, right?
Yes. There will be. Obviously I'll have my copy of the rule book to check discrepancies and make rulings if those things come up. But for the most part, I mean, this is an established crowd that you should be able to find answers relatively quickly because it's fairly straightforward.
Right. I mean, we may end up running games out there with a crowd that actually has much more experience playing the game than we do. So.
Right. So I'm not going to try and dictate anything, but I do want to make sure that I have all the rules available, which means obviously that I'll have extra boards, but people should bring the board that goes with their army. They should bring their Saga dice. They should bring measuring sticks or the equivalent, or a pair of scissors to cut them out of the back of the book if you need to. We are, obviously any FAQs for your faction, have the latest. I haven't finished going through all of that yet, but I'm going to make sure I go through and make sure there's no errata that I need to be aware of before we get involved in it. And to be honest, most of the stuff is fairly straightforward. We've tried to make it as equitable as possible. One of the scenarios originally had that you could only score in melee, which would obviously torque off a lot of missile weapon heavy armies.
Normans.
Yeah. So so we changed that, and it's a little bit fair. It's things are going to die quicker, but and the points values will skyrocket. But again, if everybody's playing the same scenario, they should all have equal chance of having a saga written about them. The one other thing that I'd like to see, it's not in the rules, but so I'm not going to make it a stipulation, but it was brought up, it was pointed out to me at the practice game, my warlord didn't have a name.
Yes.
So we called him Ian the Untested, I believe.
Right.
And
yeah, that's important. You should, if you're gonna play a game called Saga, and you want to write a saga about your warlord needs to have a name, right?
Exactly. Now, I know that in the past we've done, like when in SoCal Malifaux, we did the one-day achievement leagues, which had the little checklist of things that you could do to earn points for the day. We're not doing any of that for this because I just want it to be a straight, kill the other guy. But it would be nice if on your army list you had a name for the warlord at least. This is Ulfgang the Barbaric, or Alaric the Smelly, or whatever you want to call him. It doesn't have to be completely serious, but he should have a name.
Yes.
And I'll post that on Facebook as well. It's just for flavor. It's not going to
Hmm.
necessarily net you anything special, but I don't know. There's all sorts of freebies floating around. We'll see what happens.
Nice. So, so just going back to Saga from the aspect of a player, what do you play? What armies do you play in Saga, and why?
I play the Pagan Rus and I play the Saxons. The Pagan Rus I got because everybody had when I picked up my first set, everybody had all the basics, um, and none of them really appealed to me off the bat. So I had studied Russian history in college, and the idea of Vikings that settled in what is essentially a Slavic lands and carved a nation when they didn't have any of the natural advantages of being isolated from anyone else. They had to do it because they were tough, they were fierce, and they were cunning.
Hmm.
And I liked the feel of it. So I built that army, but I've only got 5 points for it so far because I got the starter force of 4 points. I picked up a unit of levies, and I'm still working on expanding that to a full 6 points. Um, but then I went to England in February of this year,
Okay.
and it occurred to me that you always hear about the history of England from 1066,
Hmm.
but you never really hear anything from before that because history is always written by the winners. And when the Normans came in, they basically, bashed in heads and took names and chewed bubble gum, and that was it. So I became interested in learning more about the Saxons, which were essentially the governing body for a number of years before the Normans got there.
Hmm.
And then, I remember the old Errol Flynn Robin Hood movie where you've got the lowly Saxons oppressed by the high and mighty Normans. And so the Saxons became more and more intriguing for me, and then I noticed that they had, Gripping Beast Plastics had a box of 44 Saxon Thanes, or warriors. And at a cost I couldn't refuse, customizable minis, light, easy to transport, I was sold. And then I found out that they're a horde army. So so now I got to get some levies to beef them up. But I've got 6 points of them, and I enjoy what they can do because they're surprisingly resilient, especially if you get them in large numbers. That's where they really start to shine.
Yep.
But
Yeah, I found
that's
that out the hard way the other day. There
yeah,
was
yeah. I essentially wasted an 8-man unit of warriors. I could have split it up and created a couple of larger units, had a smaller one in the back. It was poor planning on my part, but in the end, it was a draw. I couldn't ask for a better game than that. But what about you?
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting game. For me, when I first started playing Saga, the first army I picked up was actually Skraelings, and I bought the Skraelings because they were absolutely left of center for Saga. They were not, um, you know, they were not. I guess they're not considered. They weren't in the main rule book for Saga, and they were a special edition army that had come out, and I found that army and decided, hey, that looks like fun. That looks like something very different. So I played them for a while. Realized that they're not really my playstyle because they're also kind of a horde playstyle, and they have some really interesting, unique tricks to them. But I don't know. That just wasn't really me. So then I went to look for another army, and it was I think it was my birthday or something. My wife had decided she wanted to buy some miniatures for me, and at the time we were, a bunch of us were starting up Saga, and she wanted to buy me Franks, and specifically she wanted to buy me the Carolinian Franks. And the reason why she wanted to buy me the Carolinian Franks is because she has a friend named Carolyn Franks, and so she thought that was hilarious, and I should be playing the Carolyn Franks. So that's the army that she got me, and I painted them all up for Comic-Con that year because we decided, let's show off a little Saga at Comic-Con. And yeah, I stuck with the Franks because I find their playstyle to be very, very different from most armies' playstyle. So
Tricksy. Very, very tricksy.
yeah, the Franks basically, well, in a nutshell, the Franks are basically the army that sets up all of their basically they set up on watch, and they set up a bunch of traps, and they wait for you to do something, and then they have the kind of reactivity to just try to shut down whatever you are trying to do at the moment. So if your troops move forward to engage me, I try to engage you first. If you are trying to shuffle around the board, I try to shoot you as you're moving around. So those are the kinds of tricks that the Franks do, and it's a playstyle that takes some getting used to. And I will fully admit that I don't quite understand. I don't think I'm even close to mastering the Franks playstyle. But it's a very interesting thing for me. So they keep me interested in the game. I'm not getting bored of their playstyle mainly because I haven't even mastered it yet. So and my warlord for the other day, the battle that we played is named. Well, first off, let me say for the Franks, most of their major characters in the Franks are named Charles, right? So you have obviously Charlemagne, but then you have like Charles the Fat is a historical character, and I thought it was a funny name, so I went with Charles the Fat for a lot of battles. But lately, I wanted to have a guy that was more about melee, even though the mounted guy he's kind of soft. So I went with Charles in Charge. So that's the name of my warlord currently for the Franks. And I like Charles in Charge, and I like Charles in charge of me. So there we go.
That works.
Let me reload some comments here. Well, thanks everyone for watching Play It Painted Live. Let's see. Not painting. Finished my Dread Knight, not Golden Demon. I'm building up the new Stormwolf, the Space Wolf army, which they are getting an update. After building, I should be busy painting my Land Raider and Stormwolf. Okay, so lots of GW painting from Tori there.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean,
very cool.
Hell, the Space Wolves have been all over Bella Lost Souls lately. The new updates and such.
Okay, cool.
I haven't read any of them because the Space Puppies, I lost many a game to them, and I just kind of shiver whenever I read their Space Wolves. So.
Space Puppies. So yeah, Saga is, I'm hoping that we can put Saga back on the menu for us and, get in not just this event, but, try to break it out a little bit more often than we have. I realized that we had an aggressive convention schedule this year. We switched out to an entire portfolio of basically brand new games, at least for us. So moving over to Ninja, we had to learn a bunch of games this year, and we have a budding community of players that are just learning the games. We still have that, in fact. But it's good to bring back something like Saga. It is relevant because I'm gonna just kind of, if it's okay with you, Phil, I'm gonna kind of go into what's been going on with me lately.
No, more Saga. All Saga.
Only Saga. But this does very much relate to Saga, and it's a pretty awesome story. So,
what's been going on with you, man?
So, like right before Comic-Con, I'd made the decision that after Comic-Con, I need to switch my gaming night, and there are a couple of reasons behind that. One of the reasons was even though I really enjoy my Thursday open gaming board game night at CQ, I really felt we were at capacity there. The board gamers are taking up more and more room, which is awesome. They're bringing in more people every week, and those people get to experience a little bit of tabletop with me. But at this point, I feel like the regulars at board game night have seen and or played basically everything that I brought in. And so I felt like we were kind of at capacity there. You know, that crowd really loves stuff like Super Dungeon Explorer, and they want to play Arena. But for stuff like Eldorado, I was getting some response, but it wasn't quite what I thought I could get from a store like CQ. So I decided to move over to Tuesdays, which they call Tactical Tuesdays. It's their skirmish game night over at CQ. So specifically, Warmahordes, they had predicted I would move over anyway, so they had Eldorado already on the calendar there. And it didn't hurt that there were some people there kind of asking, hey, it says Eldorado on the calendar, where's our Eldorado? So that helped me move over. And so this past Tuesday was my very first Tactical Tuesday. And let me just say, it was awesome. Showed up to Tactical Tuesday. There were some War Machine games in play, and set up some Relic Knights because, even before I showed up there, people had indicated to me that they wanted to see Relic Knights in action, and some other people were actually there waiting for Eldorado as well. And that's always awesome to see. So we played a game of Relic Knights there, kind of a learning game. We had people. I only had the one board on me, and only a couple of factions. So we played a game. Me and Richard Carmody played a learning game with him, but was also teaching the people around us kind of rules. So I would throw out rules while we were in play. So that was really cool, and we had a I guess a swirl of people around us that were interested in learning. So after that, we decided to go play some Eldorado, and this is the cool part. Right as we're putting stuff away for Eldorado, I break out my dice bag to put away, my dice for that game, and the guy that I'm playing against sees my Saga dice, and he's like, "Oh my God, you play Saga?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I play Saga." He's like, "Yeah, you play everything." We were like, "Oh my God, we play everything that the other guy also plays." So that was kind of cool. I told him about Sagaugust, and he's like, "Yep, I'm definitely going to that because I can't wait to play some Saga." And so his name is Gareth. He plays Yams Vikings and Vikings, and he has some. He was talking about bringing a couple of friends down as well. So cool. That's always awesome. And so long story short, Tactical Tuesdays was an immediate jump in terms of player interest for the Ninja games, and then even for the non-Ninja games like Sagaugust or Saga. Sagaugust is the event.
Yeah, and also Sagaugust is a lot easier to say than Sagaugust.
Sagaugust. That's how it's spelled, Sagaugust. But for short, we're just calling it Sagaugust. So yeah, that's. I think moving forward, Tactical Tuesdays is going to be my regular gaming thing. It's and it's been a little bit more difficult for me to get out to Monstore Sundays. I know that was one of our regular gaming things, but it's been that way for a while. Like I went from regular on Sundays to occasional to rare, and at this point I'm still hovering between occasional and rare. And so the reliable gaming night for me is actually going to be Tuesday. That meant I had to move the broadcast, obviously. So I'm pleased to see that we still have some viewership going on right now. So I appreciate you guys making the move over, or making the minor adjustment of switching your night. That said, I'm still up in the air as far as whether or not we want to do this Wednesday or Thursday. So I'd be interested in hearing some feedback from you guys. What night is better for you, Wednesday or Thursday? What about you, Phil? What's a better night for you?
It really depends. Both nights. He's fine. Walk it off. I got. Both nights are possibles. I'm on maybe 20-30% of the time, so I'm not really a good weather gauge.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I'm flexible though, so.
That's cool. Yeah, we'll pick a night. I mean, it might turn out that Wednesdays for me at home might be too busy. I had almost canceled tonight's show, because we're a little busy around here, and I don't want to be too disruptive in the evening. So, but yeah, if we'll collect some feedback from the viewers and see if they would prefer to have Wednesday or Thursday be the night for this. So yeah, anything else going on? I know right now you are knee deep in Saga prep.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Have you seen the latest on Arena Rex?
No, I didn't.
They posted pictures. For the viewers that we have, or those watching after the fact, if you are interested in Arena Rex and either back the Kickstarter or not, but if you haven't liked their Facebook page, I didn't see this come through the Kickstarter channels just yet, but on their Facebook page today, got pumped out to the feed tonight, they posted samples, the one-to-one samples of their rulebook, the 2-page spread for the mount section, and then several sample pages from the rest of the rulebook, and I gotta tell you, it looks gorgeous.
Wow. Okay. So still getting some updates on Arena Rex. That's a game that we had some incredibly high hopes for, and it suffered some delays. But hey, what miniature Kickstarter hasn't at this rate? As we paint Relic Knights, one of the more famous delayed miniature Kickstarters.
How long was Relic Knights delayed?
18 months roughly.
Okay. Arena Rex is about a year right now.
Yeah, Arena Rex is off by about a year. So but we know that the delays are kind of normal. Don't want to let manufacturers off the hook for that, but at this rate, it looks like with the miniature Kickstarters kind of being a relatively new phenomenon, we can expect a lot of these to be late.
Especially the one thing that I was brought up, one of my guilty pleasures lately has been just lurking in the comment sections of
that's a hobby.
Oh, it's hilarious. But one of the things that I've seen that I didn't think about, especially for something like Super Dungeon Explorer, the Forgotten King Kickstarter that came out, they had, say, X amount of models planned, and then they destroyed their targeting or their goal and raised something like 500%. They
something like that. I think their goal was something like 50,000,
and they raised over $1 million.
Yeah, and they ended up breaking $1 million. So about 20 times what they had spec'd for.
Well, all that results in stretch goals that some of them are good. Some of them I think they probably came up with at the last second, but that's not any dig at them because they came up with something on the fly. They put it out there. People liked it, and now that the thing funded, they have to create it. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of delays stem from the creation of new content, and in excess of the original creator's estimation.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Arena Rex should be shipping probably between September and October. I've heard that Through the Breach, the role-playing game, is shipping now. People are starting to get those.
One person mentioned that they got their Kickstarter for Through the Breach.
And that's over a year.
Yeah, that was over a year, and they only made, I think, a handful of miniatures for that game. It's not like the RPG itself, and most of that written content has been available, at least in like a PDF form, to the backers. So really, all they had to do was, bind the books, which I know I'm grossly understating, but I don't know if that's what's that?
That's all. Yeah,
That's all. Bind some books and crank out a few minis and a fate deck, and we're good to go.
yeah,
Right?
pretty much.
I'm sure it's much more challenging than that, and I don't.
Oh yeah, they
I
didn't
don't
even get the
intend to.
hardcovers.
What's that?
They didn't even get the hardcovers. They're shipping them without the hardcovers.
Oh wow, yeah.
They're going to do 2 shipments, which, we've done a lot of snarky commentary in the past, but tonight I got too many gin and tonics in me to really resort to that. So I'm just going to say that they're shipping the hardcovers separately, which, say what you will, that does come at an additional expense to them at no cost to you, or to me, because I'm one of the ones getting a hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
And so okay, they're biting that bullet, and they're not making a huge deal about it. So that's decent, I think.
That's decent of them.
Yeah. I mean, I think their communication could have been a little bit better, but okay, no snark, no snark.
It's okay. It's a late show. We can say whatever we want. It's fine.
That's true.
So
Now,
yeah, it's good to see some of this stuff going out. Do you have anything else that other than Arena Rex and Through the Breach that you're waiting on?
migration.
Migration?
Yes, which nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, what's migration?
The closest thing that I can imagine approximating it to would be imagine Settlers of Catan, but with anthropomorphic animals that have different abilities. So you've essentially got this new continent, and all these explorers are trying to settle on this continent. It's essentially a migration. You've got the bass, which can navigate to any coastal area without expending some resources. Or you've got the wolf, which can take over a settlement without having to expend resources. Or the rats, which can settle 2 at a time, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the art is beautiful. It looks like fairly simple gameplay. And it was a fairly small project, but it's clearly a labor of love for the guy that did it, a guy named Joe Cannon. But it's been a month or two, and I think he's estimated delivery somewhere around October. But it's something that I think will be a nice addition to the repertoire, not something that we're going to break out every single time we game. It's just like an after dinner game with friends.
Sure. Okay.
So.
Interesting.
What about you?
I have a couple of weird, just oddball ones that I'm waiting on. Some of them I'd even forgotten about until I looked at my Kickstarter stuff today.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the main ones is actually the Games and Gears battle boards. I don't know if you recall those.
I do.
Those are they're 2x2, essentially plastic modular battle boards that are that come in a variety of different themes, and they're half painted. They're kind of base painted for you to play your games on. You could get like trays as add-ons. You could get other stuff for them, and it was really cool. I kind of went fanboy on that one because they had an official anima board, and Kai showed me that, and I was like, okay, all right, Kai, I'll give you a little bit more of my money because I love your games. So I went in for that, and I got to be honest with you. And again, let's try not to be too snarky. But again, it's late at night. I'm a little disappointed in how Games and Gears has kind of conducted themselves during this Kickstarter, and I'll tell you why. It's not so much the delays of the Kickstarter, and there have been delays. I think this was supposed to deliver back in May. I think realistically I could be looking at like a November delivery, but that's not what I'm upset about. One of the things I take issue with is the fact that right after we went into this Kickstarter, they started sending us information about their other products that they're working on. They started. They did a whole like add-on stuff with additional terrain, which means now they would be sculpting a line of resin terrain, and then you see all the other stuff like the Gen Con exclusive cottage and whatever brand of terrain that they're building, and you're going, hey man, shouldn't you be getting these boards out, because you guys are behind. Let's see some of these boards, and they've been okay with communication, like when their factory got flooded and that kind of stuff. And so it wasn't a lie. They actually showed us pictures of their flooded factory. But it's a little distasteful to be like, yeah, we're delayed on our Kickstarter, but here, look at this commercial for more product. Or we're a little delayed on the Kickstarter because we wanted to add all these add-on resin terrain pieces that we're now going to have to make. And I'm being a hypocrite here because I ordered a bunch of those resin terrain pieces. But anyway, yeah, so that's the main one that's also kind of in limbo at the moment. I exaggerate. It's not really in limbo. They know they're getting ready to ship, and I would expect realistically by say October, November, I would get my boards. The other one is I have two more. I have an gaming audio Kickstarter that I backed from this guy that was kind of cool. I haven't met him personally, but he kind of interacted with me online about trying to get some exposure to his Kickstarter. He does basically musical score for stuff like for studios like Warner Brothers, and when you watch cartoons and they kind of have that mood music going on in the background during an action scene or whatever. That's what this guy does for a living, and he's a gamer too. So he thought, why don't I make that for gaming? And you might, if you've walked into a Games Workshop, you notice that they play, they'll play like battle music to kind of set the mood for their stores and that kind of thing. And I thought that was kind of cool. I do gaming at conventions, and a lot of times I do. Like the last Strategicon, I had music from Phantasy Star 2 playing while we were playing SDE, and some of the players thought that was kind of cool. So I like that kind of stuff, and I was like, well, that's music, and I can wait for something like that. Even if something like that got delayed, it wouldn't even bother me. I just think that this guy's idea is really cool, and I wanted to support him. So I went in on that Kickstarter. That's supposed to deliver in November, and I think he'll make it. I mean, this guy's used to production deadlines, and it's what he does for a living, so I really don't see any problems there. The other ones I'm in for, there's a miniatures one that was just interesting. It was a cheap one for basically the Big Lebowski themed miniatures.
Oh, I love those.
Did you see that one?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I couldn't resist that one because I was like, you know what? I kind of need the dude. I might be able to use him in some weird IHMN type build where we play some offsetting.
Well, Zombicide.
Yeah, or Zombicide. Yep. So I figured I'll go in for that. And then there's another one that escapes me right now. Let me see. There was the musical score one. There's another one that I just can't think of right now. It'll come to me in a minute. So anyway, yeah, those are the Kickstarters I'm in. Oh, what am I thinking? Wrath of Kings.
Oh yeah.
Wrath of Kings. And I don't even. And the funny thing is, I don't even think about the fact that I've backed Wrath of Kings, and I'll tell you why. It's because I have zero interest in actually playing Wrath of Kings. I'm just not interested in it. It's the miniatures look kind of cool for it, but I kind of looked at that like it was an investment, if you will. Like I'll get this Kickstarter stuff, I'll paint some of it up, and maybe I might be able to flip some of the exclusive stuff early on eBay, and it just kind of move product through. And if there's something I really like, I can hang on to it. But ultimately, yeah, that's one that I didn't consider myself in. And then finally, geez, I'm in too many Kickstarters. Finally, the last one that I'm in is for the Anima Gate of Memories Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, the video game, yeah.
The video game, yeah. And I tell you what, I don't play video games. It's been a very long time since I've actually played any video games, but I saw the preview and the art for this game, and that's what Anima is for me. Anima is like the biggest eye candy thing for me, and I just can't resist it. Even if like the Anima Tactics game is pretty fun, but mechanics wise, I really love Eldorado. I'm really enjoying Relic Knights right now, so I'll play Anima. But really, the draw to Anima Tactics for me has got to be just the eye candy miniatures and the art. The art just blows my mind every single time. I mean, I have my Anima book here in my room, and I don't really even read it for the rules. I just love to go through and look at the art. And I keep telling people that the Anima rulebook is worth buying just for the art. Like, you don't even have to play. Just pick up that game, pick up the rulebook and enjoy it for that.
I'm still trying to get mine.
Oh man, really?
Yeah.
That's right. We got to get you.
I think somebody has it. I don't know who though. I'll have to ask.
Yeah, because you were supposed to get that from Dan, right?
Yeah,
It ended up probably lost in transit somewhere, or somewhere along the railroad.
He asked my address so he could send it to me.
Oh, okay.
2
Come
months
on,
ago.
Dan.
So yeah, but I've been kind of consumed with other things like Saga and getting married and
getting married.
Yeah, but no, I hear you about the music. I've actually been crafting playlists for Arena Rex.
Oh, nice.
So they feature a lot of E.S. Posthumous. But,
so, yeah, I just think that's a really cool idea, and I wanted to support the guy. I don't care to know what his, like, when he goes retail, I don't know how much something like that is worth to people, and I don't know how many people, how common it would be for people to want something like that. But definitely I want something like that, and I think that people who host public events, well, actually, people who just host events, it's probably even a little bit more appropriate if you're gaming in your home to have something like that.
Oh yeah.
So
if I had something like that for Philippalooza, then that'd be kick-ass.
So yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a cool idea. Wanted to support that guy. He's a local guy. He games at Strategicon, and yeah, thought it would be cool. So let's see. Anything else going on here?
What, in the comments?
Oh, let's do that. Let's load comments.
I was not sure if you were talking to me or talking to the comments.
I was just sort of thinking out loud, really.
Ah.
No additional comments at this time. But yeah, what else has been going on lately? If you don't mind me filling in the blank here.
Go for it.
This has been going on. This game, Relic Knights. Relic Knights has been, at least for me, and I know you've been kind of catching a little bit of these games, either spectating or hopping in a couple.
Yeah, Canovo, for example.
Yeah, this game is we're in the getting to know you stage of Relic Knights. So there's a lot locally. There's a lot of activity going on around this game. We ran this at Comic-Con, ran demos of Relic Knights, which was kind of cool. And I'll give you my thoughts there in a minute. And yeah, and painting it furiously. So right now I'm painting this Shattered Sword Paladin faction, which is really cool. One of my favorites. It's actually one of the ones that I may be claiming as my quote-unquote main faction, or one of them anyway. And yeah, I just love the aesthetics to this game. This game breaks a lot of rules against the traditional skirmish game. And two of the ones that come to mind immediately are the lack of deployment zones and the lack of actual turns.
And transportability.
Transportability is interesting. The game is not without its quirks, and so you've got the game has some. If we're going to pick apart this game does have some issues with scale. When you look at across factions and also within factions, there's some issues with scale. There are the plastics used in this game are privateer plastics, and some people don't like that. These plastics will require cleanup. They've got flash to them. They've got mold lines. Some people don't like that. If you're coming from privateer press, you're not going to mind it at all. If you're coming from, say something like GW, you might notice that you're doing a little bit more cleanup than you normally are. And then the game itself is just, because it really is a standout game from a mechanic standpoint, there's a learning curve associated with this game. And in fact, I almost wager to say that it's a little bit harder for established wargamers to pick up some of the concepts of this game, as opposed to maybe a card gamer or a board gamer. They might be able to adapt a little bit more quickly to some of these concepts.
Yeah, but at the same time, I managed to. It is accessible. I mean, a lot of things you can get the core concepts of the game and not have to worry about too many of the details. I still don't know what Feint does, but once you figure out how things move and how they interact with stuff, it's easy. You move, you act, you move, and that's it.
Yep.
And rearrange how they're gonna activate. And then the other guy does his thing, and then move, act, move, and then once you've got that down, you're set. So it took me all of about 10 minutes to get the hang of it, and it'll take me the rest of my life to master it.
Yeah, the game does have a crazy amount of depth to it. For example, the strategies, the scenarios, right? So in this game, it's normal for you to have different scenarios than your opponent. You may run into some situations where you have like maybe one or two scenarios in common, but the amount of victory conditions is quite a bit. There are normally four different kinds of scenarios by which you score victory points. And most of the time you're playing your games to a set number of victory points. So you can actually play, another thing that's interesting about this game is you can play a larger point battle, like, say 50 points or more, but you can limit the amount of time it takes to play it by reducing the victory condition. So most games are played to 8 victory points, which might be, for example, achieving your primary and your secondary objectives. That would be 8 victory points. You could also do a bunch of combinations of, say, your secondary, your faction, and killing to get to those 8 points. That would probably take you a little bit longer. So most games are set to 8 points, but we've been setting a lot of games to like 6 points, 4 points, but not limiting the cadre size that's on the board. In other words, we're not dropping down to like 35, 25. We're staying at 50 points worth of models. We're just limiting the final score that you need to win the game, and that's worked pretty well. That allows players to really understand, to get a broader understanding of the game with a fair amount of miniatures, but still finish in a reasonable amount of time. So
now,
that's
a reasonable amount of time that you're talking demos is what, like a half hour?
For demos of this game, I've had a hard time getting it down to below half an hour. From Comic-Con, most of the demos were half hour to an hour, and the reason why it was that long is because, like, when if the players had experience playing skirmish games, I'd actually make them do the entire setup themselves, just so that they can see, okay, this is this is one of the hallmark features of the game that's different from the game that I might currently be playing. So that will extend your demo, obviously. Other times you'll get delays when established gamers don't actually actively go after their objectives. This game, perhaps more than any other game out there right now, is really, really focused on objectives. And if you're not chasing your objectives from the first activation, you might be in for a slower game. If you do that immediately, you'll be in for a quicker game. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Well, no, I'm agreeing with you, but one of the central issues would be what you're trying to do. Are your friendly games? Are you trying to whittle down the time on your friendly games? I saw a post today. Yuyao posted that he had like a 2-hour game of Relic Knights.
You got 3-hour game, yeah.
3-hour game, yeah. That's like 40K.
That made me cringe when I read that.
But that's your preference. You like playing shorter, quicker games, yeah?
Right.
Okay. I don't know.
He was trying to explain to me a little bit about what happened. I think he got caught up in trying to chase Cersei around the board. So I'm like, okay, that probably will net you a long game. And unfortunately, there are ways to kind of just slow play, which I hope I hope that we don't see too much of. But for example, with you can just decide not to do many attacks and save everything for redirects and save everything for buffs and slow down your own activation times. And that can slow down the game, which kind of sucks because the game, in my opinion, the game is best when you got two guys that are just kind of full throttle going after their objectives and just smacking anybody who gets in their way, saving up that Esper for powerful attacks or finishing off people when they have the opportunity. But I can see how if you're playing a hit and run army and you do nothing but defensive abilities and support moves, that you might end up with a slower game.
Sounds reasonable.
I mean, where's your preference here, Phil? Are you a short game guy? Or do you like a longer cat and mouse in-depth game?
I think, to be honest, I think I'm happiest between 45 minutes and an hour and a half.
Okay.
Our Saga game was great for me because it was an hour and a half long from setup to finish. A little less than that, actually, and we got all 6 turns done, and there was plenty of time for tactical deliberation, but it still felt like there was action and there were things moving. So it wasn't one of those ponderous 4-hour, 5-hour games that I've played in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, because in Saga, I can see that kind of paralysis setting in too, especially with your battle board, and that might be an adjustment for new players that might be interested in attending Sagaugust. Is we're going to ask new players to try to be like you were saying, try to be a little bit more decisive, be willing to take risks.
But that's the great thing too, is that you've got to move along and decide what you want to do with your battle board. But if you somehow screw up and don't have enough on your activation, because you have to allocate dice to move different units, if you don't have enough in your activation pool, then your turn is over that much quicker.
Yeah.
So that does help move the game along. That's a pretty nifty mechanic that they've got. But I do see where you're citing the paralysis of not knowing what to do with your battle board. But yeah, so I do like slightly quicker games. I don't want things over in 15, 20 minutes because then you just feel like, well, okay.
I put the models down and then I picked them back up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I had to give. We were doing demos at Comic-Con. I had to. A demo was over in about 5 minutes because the guy one-shotted his opponent's hero in an arena demo, and I was like, okay, you've got an extra quarter. So,
and you just reset the guy.
Exactly. So, that made it go a little bit longer and a little more satisfying to both of them. But
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah. Also, Eldorado, for the most part, is a pretty quick game when you play a full game, because once you get your list down, uh, the action goes pretty quick, and with melee being simultaneous and the game being so brutal, your stuff's gonna die anyway. I mean,
yeah,
even if you're trying to slow play, somebody's gonna walk up and eat your models. So it's another thing that I like about that game as well.
very true.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, Relic Knights is right now kind of the hotness. Like I said last night, had a crowd of people around us wanting to get to know the game better. A lot of them were in on the Kickstarter too, so a lot of guys are already in. They just want to see, hey, is it worth sticking around? Is there going to be a lot of us are kind of looking around, going, is there going to be a community built around this? And that's hard to say. I mean, it's when you first see people getting around a game, you're going to see, oh, there's so many people here. There's no chance of this community going away, right? And we've seen that firsthand. We've had ringside seats to a large community of players who, including ourselves, who have picked up and left games because we no longer cared about those games. So it's going to be interesting to see with Relic Knights what types of players does it attract, because my brother mentioned this to me the other day. It's kind of a mixed message here, because the anime theme is real fun and kind of cutesy and whatever, and that turns off a lot of quote-unquote serious gamers. Hey, I only like to see my guys roided out and wearing giant shoulder pads. I don't like any of this silly stuff like girls.
Yeah.
So the aesthetic doesn't appeal to some gamers, and it kind of might make you feel inclined that this is a fun, silly game. But then when you get into the mechanics themselves, you're thinking, man, me anyway, I'm thinking this game has a ridiculous amount of depth to it, and it's going to take a while to really, really explore the space that they created with this game. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see the next few months. How things pick up in this game, and what actually sticks and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So let's reload some comments here. Once again, welcome to Play It Painted Live. Let me know what you're painting or what you should be painting. Kind of moving slowly here on this stuff, because I don't know. I just feel like tonight I want to move a little bit more slowly on these models and kind of enjoy the process a little bit more. But overall, looking pretty good. Debating if I want to hit these with a wash. I probably will.
Oh yeah, I wash everything.
Probably hit these with a wash to just give, especially stuff like the Paragons. These are really cool models. Look at that. That's a cool model. Just to give the model a little bit more depth, I'm going to hit it with a blue wash. I suppose I could hit it with a purple wash and see if that really pops the color. But what do you think?
I don't know. The two washes that I generally use are Devlin Mud and Devlin Mud. Now I use the flesh wash, and when I'm doing whites and grays, I'll use a gray wash or a blue wash. I've never actually done anything with a purple wash.
You got purple wash, and well, purple wash is going to make these models all look darker across the board. But I don't know. I wish maybe I do a little test here. Let me do a little test on and pick somebody.
Don't you have any objectives that you can?
Not really.
Assets, I should say.
Assets.
Yeah. You know what I mean, the little satellite dishes and stuff.
Oh, boost markers.
Yeah, boosts. Yeah.
I don't have any handy, but that's a good thought. And I also have to decide if I'm going to use a Citadel wash or a Army Painter wash. And at the moment, I'm leaning towards using a Citadel wash.
I've slowly been migrating all of my paints over to Diego.
Yeah, I did the same, and for the washes, because I really do like Citadel washes, but I wanted to be able to move away from their washes as well. So I started using Army Painter washes, and those washes are fantastic. So I'm going to try this Druki Violet here, and I'm going to do it on the model that I'm definitely going to be repainting. This is Dark Space Fiammetta. So I'll just do a little wash here in the back. How that looks. I should be using blue or violet. Oh yeah, the violet really does. The violet does give it a rich. Makes the blue look really rich.
I think I'm done painting for the night.
You're done?
Well, you see what's on my painting table?
Yeah, somebody decided that you are in fact done. Let me try the blue here. See if I would rather use the blue wash. Yeah, I'm not going to finish any models tonight, unfortunately. I'm just going to get through. Okay, so the blue wash also gives me a richness. And frankly, I kind of like the blue wash better in this case, based on the blue that I've got on the model. So I think I'm going to go with the blue wash. Oh, wait. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go with the blue wash. So, good. Okay. Thanks for letting me borrow your legs there for a minute. How's It Going by Julian Lopez. It's going all right, man. How are you doing? Any other comments on YouTube? So I am going to consider, whether or not we're doing and whether or not from a regular standpoint, if we're going to be going with Wednesday or Thursday. I kind of prefer Wednesday because, if something happens to Tuesday night and I want to pick up gaming and I have an opportunity to game Thursday, I want that to be available to me. So I'm leaning towards keeping this on Wednesday night in case I have that opportunity to game at Open Gaming. So that's my thought. But again, if you're viewing the program right now, or if you're viewing this on record, let me know what works better for you. I like this. So any other exciting news or anything going on with you, Phil?
Yes.
All right.
My Super Dungeon Explorer boards survived the trip back from Comic-Con. Barely, but they did.
Nice.
Yeah, it was funny. There's a fanzine coming out for fans of ninja games called Tales of the Ninja, and they're going to have all sorts of content for Super Dungeon Explorer, Anima Tactics, Eldorado, and Relic Knights. And so I wrote an article on how I built 4 3D boards, and that'll be I'm going to submit that later. But
now, to point it out, though, you built 4 3D boards in the space of 10 days, I want to say?
Yes, 10 days.
That's insane.
It was a little bit. But I was waiting on my plaster, and when it finally got here, I was like, ooh, okay, and then I went for it. I might have got it done sooner, except I had real life intrude a couple of times. But what I discovered is that Elmer's while very, very handy for getting large quantities of things together quickly, not so good when you're subjecting it to hordes of unruly 9-year-olds at Comic-Con. I had pillars falling off, I had rocks coming off, I had bridges breaking, all sorts of things. But thankfully, your super glue was very handy.
Handy, good, good.
But yeah, when I got him home, all that had broken was the bridge and a little bit of a wall here or there, and for some reason the water effects remelted.
Oh, it reactivated.
Yeah, it reactivated.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It was kind of weird because one of the walls had broken off and landed inside the sewer pit and had kind of stuck. So I pulled it off, and now I have this outline of a bit of wall, which doesn't look great, but maybe that'll smooth out soon. And then in the fountain started turning opaque again, and then the river or the moat on the dragon board, all of a sudden it's gotten a lot clearer. I have no idea. I think it's possessed.
Wow. So essentially, it looks like things that probably hadn't hit full cure were reactivated, and then they cured under different conditions, probably because they might have been in slightly different conditions, and then so that's why you're seeing some things go clear and some things go cloudy.
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I don't understand it, but hey, whatever works. I'll just make the repairs I need to, and then it'll be. I don't plan on leaving the county with them for a while.
For a while?
Yeah.
Any plans on attending, say, GameX at the end of this month? It's actually a week after Sagaugust.
Oh, probably not.
Okay.
Just because, family obligations and a lot of things going on.
Sure.
But if someone is, I can always loan the boards to them if they want.
They wanted to run SDE?
Yeah.
That's nice.
Well, I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, so, GameX is at the end of this month. I will be honest with you. I'm on the schedule, but that's a tough time of year for me because Lizzie is going back to teaching that week. So there is a chance I may not be able to even make that. In which case, I need to try to cancel if I don't think I'm going to make it. So we're going to be tentative here for a couple days. But the goal is to try to run. I want to run a Relic Knights tournament at Strategicon, which is a little unusual considering I've never run a demo of Relic Knights at Strategicon. But I think there are some players in LA that might be interested in just cracking open their stuff and playing a few rounds. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not expecting that to be a largely attended event, mainly because people are probably still discovering the game, maybe building and painting right now, kind of like we are. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. So right now, I'm probably only going to be able to finish these 2 Paragons because the other things have faces. And in the space of this show, I probably will not have time to paint a bunch of flesh and faces. But who knows? Maybe. So, you mentioned that you're painting up some Relic Knights right now, right?
Yes.
So what are you working on for Relic Knights?
I have, the only 2 that I own. I have Kenobo and I have Moffat.
Okay.
And, it's a little hard to see, but it's funny because you see figures and they've got these little tiny eyes and, you wonder, do I just do little black dots and that's fine because they're small? Or this model the Moffat model had the largest eyes I'd ever seen. So I went ahead and did the little white dots on either side and gave her pupils, and it works. But unfortunately, I think when I was cleaning the face, I might have sliced off a little bit of her nose. So
Oh.
I've been using shading and shadowing to get proper depth back on there. She's a gorgeous model. I gotta finish the corset that she's wearing and the rest of her dress. And Kanobo is a lot of fun too. I decided to make him a lot darker except for his hair, which I want to stand out quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And for the base, I just used green stuff and pressed a Catan battleship from Gothic into the green stuff to give it kind of a cyber techno feel to it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I've become a huge fan of base stamping for basing models lately. It's quick, easy, and it's pretty effective if you paint it right. But no, those are the only two I own, and because I figured that I like the Corsairs most of all, and I even ordered the Calico Kate Super Dungeon Explorer model.
Nice.
And so I figured I'd start with these two, and then eventually I'll get the book and a battle deck and the starter set and the Relic Knight and everything.
So while I got you here, I should point something out to you while since we're talking about ordering online. So I think I mentioned this to you before, but just in case you didn't hear, you can use your ninja points towards Forgotten King.
Yes.
So, if you know, and I got an email from Ross who's asking, hey, let's make sure that the guys that really worked Comic-Con and AX and whatever, that these guys get their points, because I want them to be able to use those for Forgotten King. So if you don't see your points get updated here by Friday, let Ross or myself know, and we'll try to make that. What's that?
How many were we supposed to get again?
Well.
Or we could talk offline about that.
Yeah, we can talk offline about that, because you did work quite a bit at Comic-Con. So it should be pretty good. I mean, it should help cover a lot of the costs that, for extra stuff, because going into Forgotten King you have to pledge Always Super, so you already paid the whatever the base pledge was.
$100.
Yeah, and so now you're going to be able to use your Ninja Star Points to cover additional costs that you may pick up as you add to your base pledge.
Cool.
Yeah, and then obviously, if you want a Relic Knights miniature that they're selling on retail, you can always just order it directly from the online store. You also have an SDE Arena mat now, right?
Yes.
That's
yes,
awesome.
I can actually run three arena matches at the same time.
Nice. So you have a little 6-man tournament.
Yeah.
Be kind of fun. That'd be fun, like a one-night event.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or
you're at JJ's or whatever, and you wanted to run something, you could totally do that.
Yeah, and that would count as a ninja event.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Yep.
So yeah, that's definitely on the table. I've lost my painting buddy, so now I'm back to the Yams Vikings. But yeah, I've put in for a little bit more than the standard Always Super pledge. I ended up going in for the Stilt Town Zombies and a couple of the extra. I got the Kingdom Death crossover character.
Oh, nice. You got the Twilight Knight?
Yep.
Nice.
And that's one the Kickstarter pledge manager opened up for that one, and I didn't jump in on it, but I'll probably end up buying the game if and when it comes out.
Okay.
Kingdom Death Monster. Just that's a set with some gorgeous models in it.
Yeah, that's another project that has seen its share of delays on Kickstarter, but people love what this guy does, and they are willing to wait, whatever for this guy, and just his sculpts are brilliant. So
Did he start this Kickstarter back in 1972?
something like that, yes.
Yeah.
You may be right, but yeah, that's an interesting. It's an interesting uh, aesthetic to that game that some people find a turnoff. I think it's brilliant, personally, and can't wait to see some of that stuff in person.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's kind of entertaining just to see the dichotomy. You walk around Comic-Con and you see all these porcelain statuettes of absolutely impossibly voluptuous women,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay, was it a 13-year-old boy that sculpted that?
Yeah,
But then, here we are playing games, and we've got, all sorts of really mature subject matter depicted in, because it's a nightmare realm.
yeah,
Um, but, here we are playing with the same kinds of figures, and it's like, it makes sense to me.
yeah. The topic comes up quite a bit on this show because of the games that we normally play. They're anime themed. There's pinup models and so forth, and some people don't like it, and that's cool. That's it's their prerogative not to like it. But I don't know. I'm a fan. I like it. I don't think that, and even my wife is a fan. She likes this stuff, and she likes that pinup aesthetic too, and so that's kind of cool. And she can
Yeah.
actually the one of the very few places where she where she's a fan of something gaming is the aesthetic, and in particular that pinup style aesthetic. So,
And
but back to not controversial models. Uh, I do need to paint up. I do need to paint up uh, some bowmen for Saga. Um,
yes.
because I've the Franks really do need they're ranged to get the most of them from them. So that's
I really don't think you need it, personally. But that's just me.
no, I need it because uh, you never know. You can run into an army that's planted in somewhere, or an army that's trying to charge me early in the game, and if I can get some shooting off against them, that would be great. I think I'm only going to do one unit, though. Probably only one unit of archers. And that might be a mistake, but...
But that's the great thing, though, is that if you take care of them, then you're fine. It's not like other games where you have to have redundancy or multiple units because this unit's going to get thwarted by that unit or whatever. With Saga, every single unit is valuable
mhm,
and usable and survivable.
that's true.
So, I think one unit is fine.
Yeah, we will definitely find out. If not at Sagaugust, then we'll be playing... Because we'll be playing some more Saga before and after, I assume.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm
Mhm.
not going to stop just because it's not Sagaust anymore.
Right. Very cool. Okay, let me reload comments here. Whoa. I have a violent comment reporting, or I have a violent PM thing on my phone when I
I
get.
hear the little dings.
Yeah, it does this like whole Twitch vibrate ding thing. That sounds really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, my phone does that, and so it's interesting. I try to not have my phone with me when I'm in meetings at work, because people message me while I'm at work. Hey, did you see the new, miniature line coming out or whatever? And that's just not the best thing to be like, oh, excuse me, boss, let me look at this. And you got somebody ranting about, oh man, can't believe you can kill units with pushes and that kind of stuff. Not the best thing to be looking at during a meeting.
Oh, I don't know. It makes meetings a lot more interesting.
It does for me. Yeah.
Anything good?
Everything's good. So, yeah, just gonna continue to paint here for a bit. What was I gonna say? Okay, so once Sagaugust is over, what do you have any tentative plans after that, as far as what you want to do?
Well, I got a lot of stuff I got to paint.
Mm-hmm.
Once August is over, then I'll be looking at. I did pick up some Anima Tactics minis from you not too long ago. I gotta paint those out.
Nice.
And I got a few Eldorado things I got to finish up. I want to finish. I've assembled and primed all of my mercenaries, except for Don Quixote, and I got to flesh out that force so that I can use it in demos against the demons.
Cool.
And because I'd like to have demo forces for everything eventually.
Nice. Yeah, I'm hoping that sometime before the end of the year that I can host a store event, either for Eldorado or for Relic Knights. Not sure for what at this point. It's leaning towards Relic Knights, but man, I would love to do a little Eldorado too. But we'll have to see. Yeah, getting something in store for one or maybe even both of these games before the end of the year would be fantastic.
Very cool. Yeah, it's funny, the last 20 some odd years I've been gaming, I never thought I'd be in this position where I was one of the ones organizing store events and wondering what's the next thing we can set up. I was always the one just going to the stores and wondering if there was anybody hanging out wanting to play.
Yeah, this is a relatively new endeavor for you, right?
Yep.
So, what has compelled you to take up the volunteer hat?
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure. Okay.
No, it's more like just, I don't know. Well, for Sagaugust, I said it was something that I felt like we needed more of, and I know that's what the real volunteers think of for everything. And we need more of this because there's never enough of this. Mm-hmm. But and most of the other time, I'm just helping out because, well, I'm friends with you guys, and so if people are running something, I'll be there to support it. Whether it's by helping set up, maybe it's going to get a sandwich for you, or just helping set up and clean up. But yeah, it's, I don't know, it's gotten less about crushing my opponent and hearing the lamentations of the women, and more about just the whole experience around it.
Yeah, it's almost like some people at some point in their gaming decide that that's what they want to do and that's what they want to pick up. For my brother and I, it was maybe a little bit earlier than most, but we did our stint in gaming, even competitive gaming, and now where we're at today is we really enjoy just hosting these types of things. So super fun for us.
I found it's made me a better gamer, actually. Not like I win more often, because that's definitely not the case. But I'll be perfectly honest. I wasn't always the best loser. Back in the day, it wasn't that I would flip tables or anything, but when things are going badly, you can see
You
it.
shot a couple people.
Yeah, just to watch them die. But no, it's the nice thing about switching my focus, less about playing games and more about sharing games. That's a better way to put it.
There you go. Yeah.
That really makes it less about the winning or the losing and more about the experience that we're all having.
Mm-hmm.
So, for your Bob Ross moment of the day, I'm Phil Howard.
Yeah, and I myself, I was a competitive gamer for a while, and it took its toll on me. To the point where I would play these games and get really upset about the outcome of a game or whatever, and I would look across the room. So I not to brag or anything, but when I was a competitive gamer, I was a top bracket guy. I'd end up in the top tables or whatever. So I'd be playing the most intensive games that day during the tournament, right? Conversely, my brother has always been a casual gamer. He's always been a casual gamer. He's always been about, just having fun and enjoying the experience of gaming with another person and just taking it for what it is. And so I'd be playing these like highly competitive games, sometimes mad, sometimes frustrated. And every time I looked across the room, my brother would be laughing or smiling, and I would be like, and we would get out of there that day. And it didn't matter if I won the tournament or not. We'd be getting out of there for the day, and I would be frustrated as hell. And I would be like, why do I do this? And I'd naturally blame my brother for everything. I'd be like, why did you talk me into coming to this? It was a waste of time. I don't like these people. I don't want to play. And he would walk out of there like, oh, I had so much fun. I met the coolest person. Can't wait to game with that person again. And invariably, my brother would always win best sportsman. Right? He would always win favorite opponent, best sportsman, whatever. And I would be like one of the least liked people there at the tournaments. And at some point, my brother would just host games. He would just teach people how to play the games. And at some point, I just kind of said, "Hey, I'm going to try that. I want to try that." And I ended up really liking that. And I ended up liking that way more than I've ever liked playing the games. And that's still true today. To me, I would still rather be teaching somebody a game than like trying to kill somebody at it. So that's where we went, and we've never looked back. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been happier with my gaming. Never been happier. And it's to the point where, if you're going to accuse me of being a power gamer, I'm totally a power gamer with regards to getting these shows done well and providing quality for the people that attend my events, that attend my shows. That, to me, that's my new power game. If you're going to accuse me of being a power gamer, that's where it is.
Well, let's not wax completely poetic. You are pretty ruthless when we play Room 25.
That's true. I mean, with friends, sure. I can still be pretty ruthless, but
didn't that kind of sound backwards? With friends, I'm ruthless.
Yeah. With the people that I like, I'm going to be super, super mean when we play a game together, but with total strangers, sure. I'm going to be at my best behavior.
Lure him in.
It's like the guy that's like super nice when he has guests over, and then as soon as they leave, he's like mean to his family.
Yeah.
We have some comments here from Julian Lopez. Are those Pokemon? No, sir. These are Relic Knights miniatures for soda pop miniatures. These are actually war game miniatures. You put them on the board and you play games with them. You roll dice, or in this case, you flip cards, and you pit your force against another person's force and find out who has the better strategy that day, I suppose. That sound fair?
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
It's like chess, but with more freedom of movement.
There you go. It's chess with tape measures and painted space-age night guys, such as these. I think that suffices.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a brief history of how my brother and I kind of got into the whole games promotion end of things. And we realized that games promotion uses a lot of the same skills that playing the games did, but it also requires additional skills. It requires social skills. It requires some networking skills. It requires a crazy amount of patience, none of which I had going in. But now I feel I can be more tolerant of, different types of players that come up to my table and want to learn something, and being sensitive to what's important to different types of gamers and players. That's something that I would say I picked up from all of this. But yeah, it's for me, like, winning a game will never be as exciting as, say, walking away from a con and really feeling like you did a great job and people were invested in the games, and people wanted to learn more about the games, because that's the most you can ask for when you go to these cons. The most you can ask for is that the people that have tried your games are willing to learn a little bit more about it, maybe even, buy the game for themselves. So, wow, got all preachy again on that.
Yeah, I'm reaching the end of my availability.
Yeah, so you're gonna call it? I think we're almost at the 2-hour mark anyway, so we may be calling it here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So let's see, where are we at? And let me reload YouTube comments real quick, if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
Yeah, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and we don't have any other comments other than the ones that I just brought up. So we're doing pretty good, man. If you want to sign off a little bit early, feel free.
All right. Well, good luck with the rest of your figs.
Thank you, sir.
I think I am just about done with these little guys.
Nice.
Well, for tonight.
For tonight. So if I do not see you gaming in the next week or so, we will definitely be seeing us at Sagaugust, right?
Absolutely. And yeah, just as a reminder, look for us on SoCal Tabletop for the event, or there'll be a link on the Play It Painted Facebook page, and also at Ease Games in
Nice.
San Diego.
Cool.
All right. That's
All right.
signing off.
All right, have a good one.
You too, man. Bye.
Okay. So I'm going to hang out for a few minutes, guys, because I'm still painting. I think that's only fair. So yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, fire away. If not, I'm just going to continue to paint here, and I'm going to explain a little bit of my process, because that's what I do when we don't have any other pertinent topics. So right now I'm just painting the Paragons. I did a wash of the, what was that, Drakenhof Nightshade. So I used the Citadel wash on this, and now I'm coming back in, just picking up some details with the brush here, mainly the bordering on the shield. And then this model is actually almost done. I might try to do a little shiny effect there on the face, but it's going to be very subtle. Like I may come in with a blue ink or something like that. But yeah, I think this is. I'm not gonna because I'm not gonna really be finishing much else tonight. It's just gonna be these guys, and then maybe the bird, and I'll just kind of post a status as far as where I'm at with the rest of these figures. Here's Navari Hauser. So it was really just tonight was really just getting the fake NMM gold on, and then some of the cloth work. This is going a little bit slower than I normally go with my miniatures, but it's a reasonable pace. It's fine. These will be done definitely this week. So by this weekend, these will be ready to go. I may take them with me to next Tuesday for gaming, so we can try them out. And as far as this scheme is concerned, this is a reverse scheme of the studio art. So it's blue armor and white cloaks instead of white armor and blue cloaks. Actually, the studio scheme is closer to a blue gray for the armor because they didn't go pure white. They went almost like a blue gray, and it looks great. So yeah, Relic Knights is it's a super fun game for me. Right now, people are sort of discovering some really powerful stuff, and there's a tendency to yell broken or it's not working or whatever. And you might be right on some stuff. It's a brand new game. There may be stuff that they need to errata immediately. Conversely, you don't want to go in too fast with your conclusions because if they start making adjustments and it turns out those adjustments are unfounded, then you might end up breaking parts of the game that were previously working out as intended. So just doing a little highlighting on Navari here. Very cool model, Navari Hauser. He's like the Paragon captain, I guess. He just kind of got a neat aesthetic to him. Okay. I'm just going to work on the Paragons. Man, I really do love the models for this game. They're fantastic. Really do love the models. So if you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. If you're painting or you should be painting something, let me know what that is. It's just fun to share our projects. I mean, ultimately, you don't have to tell me anything. You can just sit there and paint alongside me. I'm totally good with that. There have been some times when I thought about shutting down this show because sometimes it's hard to make sure I've got the time. Sometimes it's we just don't get the kind of activity that we think would merit putting time into this show. But like I always say, if there's one person that's picked up their paintbrush because of this show, then I feel like this show is worth keeping on air. And sometimes it really has only been one person. But you know what? I love it. If that one person just is painting and they say, well, I paint whenever I watch your show, I'm going to keep doing my show. So I appreciate it when viewers tell me that stuff like that, like, hey, I'm painting because I watch your show, and I've gotten stuff done. I love to hear people get stuff done because you always impress yourself with how much you can actually get done if you just kind of block out the time and you set realistic goals for yourself. You can be like, oh wow, I can't believe I did all that in that amount of time. and it gives you confidence moving into your next projects. You don't feel one of the things I hear from painters is sometimes they feel a certain amount of dread, especially when they've backed a Kickstarter for a very large amount and they're sitting with a whole bunch of boxes in their painting room or their gaming room, and they feel a little disheartened to open those and start building and painting. Having a partner or somebody that's just kind of helping to encourage you along the way, that kind of thing, I think is a really nice thing to have. So I am hopeful that I can provide that for you guys. So now I'm just going to take these Swordsworn here, just give them a quick highlight. And for the Swordsworn, really the only thing left to do is paint in the flesh and the eyes. Because these are troopers, I don't think I'm going to spend too much time on them. So my highlights are going to be pretty quick. And hopefully the skin and eye work will also be pretty quick. Be nice if I could actually finish a few of these tonight. I don't know how many I'll actually be able to finish, but looks like the paragons are just about done. So that's a good sign. And we'll see how many of these I can knock out as well. Does not take much to get these Swordsworn done. I tend to do all the base coats with airbrush, just faster. I can block out a bunch of colors that way, and they look pretty good. They look pretty good. In this case, I actually did the basing as well. So I am really, really close to done, like way closer to done than it might appear from these. And again, this is just basic troop stuff, so I'm not going to break my back, trying to get every single little detail right. When you're dealing with troops, you're going for an overall look. And I'm not painting these for competition. These are for play. And so for play, most of the time people say use a 3-foot standard. As long as the model looks cool from 3 feet, you're good. I go in closer than that because I want just a little bit more quality than a 3-foot standard. And people love it. People sign on and they commission me to paint stuff for them. So let me just finish this highlight, and then I'm literally going to close the show, do a little painting off camera, and then I'm going to post these for you guys to look at. All right. So earlier in the program, I did call out the Ogre Kickstarter. I'm going to mention it one more time, just to let you guys know that it is in its final hours. And if you people are interested in supporting a local OC con, then Ogre might be the con for you. Was proud to have Adam on previously talking about the Kickstarter, and you might think that Adam has given up at this point because we're not quite at the goal with only hours left, but he hasn't, and he's pushing harder. And there are people on SoCal Tabletop and in the community pushing this with each other. Well, to each other, and trying to get more support. So, and that's good to see. So, that's good. And I just figured, hey, I'd call him out on my own program because I'm an Orange County gamer as well. So this is my backyard, and local cons are. I'm a big proponent of local cons in general. Okay, moving right along here. Things are looking pretty good, man. This is the questing knight, Francis Mallory. Now, I believe somewhere back here, I can find him. I have I might have stuck him in I think I stuck him in one of my cases. I have a metal Francis Mallory, and this is the plastic one. And I can tell you firsthand, there's not much difference between these. So they actually did. This one had an easier transition moving over to plastic. Very cool. Okay, So I'm going to reload comments one more time, and then we're going to terminate the broadcast after that. Overall, pretty quiet night here at Plate Painted Live. Kind of low key. I don't know. We're from Comic-Con. We're just a little bit tired, and it's nice to have a little more quiet show tonight. So anyway, I think that's going to be it for comments. Want to thank you guys for watching, tuning in. Again, please let me know. Does Thursday work better than Wednesday? I'm hoping for a Wednesday night, but again, if more of you people say that Thursday is a better night, I will move the broadcast to Thursday. So thank you guys for tuning in, and just we'll see you on the next one.